The threshold of breakthrough. There are moments in life when it feels as though the entire universe is holding its breath, waiting for you to take the next step. These moments are subtle yet powerful. You may notice them in the form of strange coincidences, a surge of energy you cannot explain, or the quiet whisper of intuition telling you that something is about to shift. What you might not realize is that these signs often appear when you are on the very edge of a breakthrough, closer to success than you have ever been before. Too often, people give up right before the finish line. They interpret delays as failure, setbacks as proof they are not good enough, or silence from the universe as rejection. In truth, those difficult periods can be the final test before the doorway opens. When you are about to win, reality tends to throw up distractions, doubts, and fears that tempt you to walk away. If you recognize them for what they are, you can pass through with clarity instead of crumbling under the weight of uncertainty. Think about how many times in your own life you nearly quit before the reward arrived. Perhaps you were pursuing a dream, building a relationship, or trying to change yourself from the inside out. The hardest nights, the days when everything felt empty or meaningless, may have been the very days when you were closest to a shift. That is not coincidence. The energy of transformation often feels like destruction first. The old identity has to collapse before the new one can emerge. Your mind may tell you that nothing is happening, but beneath the surface your frequency is reorganizing. The quantum field responds to your state, not your words. When you begin embodying the identity of someone who succeeds, the field reconfigures itself to reflect that vibration. This is why persistence matters. The breakthrough does not arrive because you demand it or plead for it. It arrives because your energy becomes coherent enough to hold it. You are not just waiting for external events. You are tuning yourself to a new signal. Imagine a radio dial spinning through stations filled with static. The moment you land on the right frequency, the music plays clearly. Life works the same way. The moment your inner frequency aligns with the outcome, clarity appears and opportunities seem to rush in. If you stop turning the dial too early, you never hear the song. That is why so many people miss their moment. They lose patience in the silence between stations. It is in those silent gaps that the most important work takes place. Silence teaches you to hold your alignment without constant external reassurance. Silence forces you to trust your inner knowing. And silence is often the final stretch before the sound breaks through. When you feel like nothing is happening, something is. Your nervous system is recalibrating. Your subconscious is processing. Your energy is shifting. The storm before the calm is proof that you are on the threshold. If you are watching this video, it is not an accident. You are here because some part of you senses that change is near. The question is not whether it will come, but whether you will remain steady long enough to see it through. The universe does not tease you with visions just to disappoint you. Those visions are previews of what is already written in potential. Your job is to hold the frequency until possibility collapses into reality. The signs you are close to breakthrough may feel paradoxical. You may feel exhausted, doubtful, or restless. You may even experience a surge of old patterns resurfacing as though you are moving backward. In truth, this is the clearing process. Think of a snake shedding its skin. For a brief time, it looks vulnerable, raw, even awkward. But once the skin is gone, it moves with greater freedom. Your old identity must shed in the same way. Do not mistake discomfort for failure. Discomfort is the evidence that your system is transforming. Energy cannot shift without friction. You are literally reprogramming your subconscious mind, rewiring neural pathways, and stabilizing a new frequency. Of course, the body and mind resist. They are addicted to the familiar chemicals of the old identity. When you feel resistance, it means you are moving forward, not backward. Imagine an archer pulling back a bow. The more resistance there is, the greater the release when the arrow is let go. Your resistance is the tension before the release. If you let go too soon, the arrow falls limp. If you hold steady, the tension transforms into forward momentum. Right now, your life may feel like that bowstring pulled tight. Stay steady. The release is coming. The universe speaks through symbols, synchronicities, and subtle nudges. You may notice repeating numbers, unusual conversations, or opportunities appearing in unexpected ways. These are not random. They are signals that your field is aligning. The more you pay attention, the clearer they become. What you focus on expands. When you acknowledge synchronicities, you reinforce the signal. This is why awareness is so important. Most people are blind to the signals because they are too busy complaining, doubting, or comparing themselves to others. They walk past the clues the universe leaves for them every day, but you are different. You would not be here listening if you were not ready to pay attention. Awareness sharpens your perception. With sharp perception, you begin to notice what others miss. And when you notice, you act. Action is the bridge between energy and matter. Embodiment is not just an idea, it is a practice. You cannot simply sit around visualizing forever. Visualization is the rehearsal, but embodiment is the performance. When you act as though you already are the person who has succeeded, your subconscious catches up. Your nervous system begins to normalize the new state. The universe responds to that embodiment far more than to your words or wishes. Think of someone training for a marathon. They do not simply visualize running. They practice daily, even when they are tired, even when the weather is bad. They embody the identity of a runner long before race day. By the time the event arrives, they are already prepared. Manifestation works the same way. You must practice being the person you are becoming, long before the external victory shows up. This is why those moments of doubt are sacred. They give you the chance to embody alignment without proof. If you can hold the frequency in the absence of evidence, you are truly becoming the new version of yourself. Anyone can believe when results are obvious. Masters believe before they appear. That is the mark of someone about to win. So if you are experiencing resistance, silence, or confusion, take heart. These are not signs of failure, they are signs of proximity. The closer you are to breakthrough, the louder the resistance feels. The closer you are to transformation, the stronger the doubts become. Not because you are failing, but because your old identity is fighting for survival. When you hold steady, the old dissolves and the new takes root. Your journey is not random. The struggles, the silence, the synchronicities, they are all threads in the same tapestry. When you step back, you see the pattern. The universe is weaving your breakthrough into being. It may not look like progress in each moment, but every stitch is part of the design. Trust the process, because the process is precise. You are closer than you think. If you can feel the tension, you are in the right place. If you can feel the doubts rising, you are on the edge. If synchronicities are appearing, the signal is already strong. Do not quit now. This is the moment when many walk away, and this is the very moment you must hold on. You are standing at the threshold. Step through. Recognizing the signals of alignment. When you are on the edge of transformation, life begins to communicate with you in subtle but powerful ways. These signals may not always look like what you expect. Sometimes they come as obstacles, other times as strange coincidences, and often as feelings within your own body that seem to rise from nowhere. To truly live in quantum alignment, you must learn to read these signs and hold steady when they appear. One of the first signals is a shift in your inner world. You may begin to notice heightened sensitivity. Music moves you more deeply, conversations carry hidden meanings, and your intuition seems sharper than before. This is because your nervous system is tuning itself to a higher frequency. It is like an antenna adjusting to receive a new channel. At first, the signal may come in fuzzy, with moments of clarity followed by static. But the more you focus on alignment, the clearer it becomes. Pay attention to your dreams during this period. The subconscious often speaks through imagery when your conscious mind is too busy to notice. Symbols of flying, climbing, or discovering hidden rooms often point to inner expansion. Dreams of water may indicate emotional cleansing. These visions are not random. They are messages from the deeper layers of your mind preparing you for breakthrough. Another signal is the sudden appearance of repeating patterns in your daily life. Numbers like 111, 222, or 777 may seem to follow you everywhere. A song lyric may repeat across different places. Strangers may echo back words you were just thinking. These synchronicities are confirmations that you are connected to the flow of the field. The quantum responds to your attention. The more aware you are, the more these signals multiply. There may also be resistance. People around you may not understand what you are doing. Some may doubt you, criticize you, or even distance themselves. This is not a punishment. It is a natural part of transformation. When your frequency rises, it reveals misalignments in your environment. Relationships and situations that cannot match your vibration often begin to fade. Though it may feel lonely at first, this is actually clearing space for new connections to arrive. You may also feel waves of self-doubt. Thoughts like, "Who am I to do this?" Or, "Maybe I am not ready," may surface stronger than ever. Do not take these thoughts as truth. They are echoes of your old identity trying to hold on. Every time you move closer to your new self, the old one protests. This is why doubt increases when you are closest to a breakthrough. It is the final barrier between the old you and the new you. Physical sensations can also arise. Some people report bursts of energy, tingling in the body, or moments of unusual calm. Others feel fatigue as their system integrates new patterns. Trust what you feel. Your body is adjusting to a higher vibration. Just as muscles ache when you train them to grow stronger, your nervous system also reacts when you expand your consciousness. This discomfort is not a sign to stop. It is a sign that you are progressing. Perhaps the most powerful signal is the appearance of opportunities that seem small at first glance. A random message from someone you have not spoken to in years, a chance encounter, or a sudden idea that lights up your mind. Many people dismiss these moments because they do not look like the final answer. But in truth, they are stepping stones. The universe rarely hands you the finished result all at once. It gives you openings. If you walk through them, more openings appear. Breakthrough often feels ordinary before it becomes extraordinary. That is the paradox. You may be waiting for fireworks, but instead the shift begins quietly, like the first rays of dawn before sunrise. If you dismiss the dawn because it is not yet bright, you miss the certainty that the sun is already rising. Learn to honor the small signals as evidence of the larger change already on its way. This is where trust becomes vital. Trust is not passive waiting. Trust is active alignment. It is choosing to breathe steadily when your mind screams doubt. It is choosing gratitude even when circumstances have not yet shifted. It is choosing to act in faith, embodying your future self before evidence arrives. This is what keeps the frequency strong enough for the field to reorganize around you. Imagine the seed of a tree planted in the soil. For weeks, nothing appears above the ground. To an impatient observer, it looks like failure. But beneath the surface, roots are spreading, anchoring, preparing for growth. Only when the roots are strong enough does the seed break the surface. Your manifestations work the same way. What you cannot see is often the most important stage. The roots of your breakthrough are forming in silence. If you abandon the seed too soon, you never see the tree. If you abandon your alignment too soon, you never see the manifestation. Patience is the hidden strength of masters. It is not idle waiting but steady knowing. You are not waiting for reality to decide. You are waiting for your inner roots to be strong enough to sustain the outer result. The energy you hold now is more important than the circumstances you face. If you maintain coherence in the face of challenge, the external will catch up. That is the promise of the quantum. The field mirrors coherence. It cannot resist it. Your job is not to force the outcome, but to hold the signal with consistency. So if you feel the signs we have described, recognize them for what they are. Heightened sensitivity, vivid dreams, repeating synchronicities, resistance from others, waves of doubt, physical shifts, and small opportunities. These are not obstacles but indicators. They mean you are already inside the transformation. They are proof you are on the edge of breakthrough. You do not need to chase more signs or beg for reassurance. The very presence of these signals is enough. Trust that they mean you are aligned. Trust that the field is listening. Trust that what you desire is not somewhere in the distant future, but already woven into the fabric of your energy. If you hold steady, the noise will quiet, the resistance will fade, and the clarity will appear. The breakthrough is not something you create out of nothing. It is something you allow by remaining steady in who you are becoming. The signals are only there to remind you. The true work is to embody. Embodying the future self. If you want to know the fastest way to collapse the distance between where you are and where you want to be, it is embodiment. Thinking about change is not enough. Visualizing alone is not enough. You must begin to live and breathe as though you are already the person you are becoming. That is embodiment, and it is the bridge between potential and reality. When most people approach manifestation or change, they make the mistake of placing their desired state somewhere in the future. They say things like, "One day I will be abundant," or "Someday I will find love," or "Eventually I will be confident." The problem with this is that the subconscious mind only knows now. If you keep putting your desires in the future, they will always remain in the future. The field mirrors your state, and if your state is that of someone waiting, the mirror shows you more waiting. Embodying your future self requires a different stance. It means claiming the state now. It means walking, speaking, breathing, and making choices as though the shift has already occurred. At first, this may feel like pretending, but it is not. Pretending is faking without inner alignment. Embodiment is practicing until your nervous system accepts the new identity as normal. Think of a child learning to walk. At first, every step feels awkward. They fall, stumble, and sway. But with repetition, their body learns what balance feels like. Soon walking becomes natural. In the same way, at first embodying your new identity feels awkward. But the more you practice, the more your body, mind, and energy accept it as natural. Soon it becomes who you are, not just who you hope to be. Start by asking yourself, if my desire were already real, how would I carry myself? How would I speak to others? How would I think about challenges? Then begin living in those answers. Even in small ways, act in alignment with the version of you who has already crossed the threshold. These micro-choices rewire your subconscious faster than you imagine. Your nervous system responds to repetition. Each time you act as though you are your future self, you strengthen that pattern. Each time you choose old habits, you reinforce the past. The field responds accordingly. This is why change feels slow for some and rapid for others. The ones who embody consistently shift quickly. The ones who only visualize but do not act remain stuck. There is great power in language. The words you use shape your identity. Instead of saying, "I will," begin saying, "I am." Instead of waiting for proof to appear, speak as though it already has. But more than words, notice the feeling underneath them. When you say, "I am abundant," do you feel lack or do you feel certainty? The field mirrors the feeling, not just the phrase. Speak and feel in coherence, and the field will reflect it back. Coherence is when thought, feeling, and action are aligned. If you think of wealth but feel poor and act in fear, there is no coherence. If you think of love but feel unworthy and act with hesitation, there is no coherence. But when you think wealth, feel abundant, and act with confidence, your signal becomes clear. That clarity is magnetic. The embodiment of your future self requires courage. It requires you to step into the unknown, to act before you have proof. But that is the essence of creation. Proof comes after the state, never before. You are not waiting for reality to give you permission. You are giving reality instruction through the way you live now. This is why so many never see their desires manifest. They wait for external signs before embodying. But the field does not respond to waiting, it responds to being. You must dare to be the person now in the absence of evidence. That is the leap of faith, the crossing point. If you wait, you delay. If you embody, you accelerate. You may wonder, how do I embody when my current circumstances contradict what I desire? This is where mastery begins. The point is not to ignore reality, but to hold alignment in spite of it. If your bank account shows little, embody abundance in your energy, in your gratitude, in your willingness to see opportunities. If relationships feel lacking, embody love by radiating kindness, patience, and self-worth. The circumstances are not the cause, they are the mirror. Change the state, and the mirror must shift. At first, you will wobble. One day you will feel aligned, the next you may collapse back into old patterns. Do not judge yourself for this. See it as practice. Every collapse shows you where the old identity still lingers. Each time you redirect, you weaken the old and strengthen the new. Progress is not perfection. Progress is persistence. There is a subtle serenity that grows when you embody consistently. You stop needing to check for proof every moment. You stop obsessing over when the breakthrough will arrive. You simply live as though it has, and in that living, you create it. The less you chase, the faster it comes, because chasing vibrates lack, while embodiment vibrates fulfillment. The paradox of embodiment is that the more you practice it, the less desperate you feel. Desperation fades into trust. Fear fades into calm. That calm is the fertile soil where manifestation grows. Just as plants need still soil to root deeply, your desires need stillness to root into reality. Constant agitation uproots them. Embodiment anchors them. Imagine two actors on a stage. One is pretending, the other has fully stepped into character. The audience feels the difference instantly. Life is your audience, and the quantum field is your stage. If you only pretend, the signal is weak. If you fully embody, the field responds. This is not about performance for others. True embodiment is not about convincing people around you. It is about aligning so deeply that you convince yourself. Once you believe, the mirror of reality follows. When you need to convince others, it means you are still uncertain. When you embody quietly, without needing external validation, you are truly aligned. Do not underestimate small daily acts of embodiment. Choosing to breathe calmly in stress, speaking gratitude before sleep, carrying yourself with dignity even when alone. These acts are the bricks that build the structure of your new self. No single act changes everything, but together they reshape your identity. The embodiment process is like tuning an instrument. At first, the notes are off. You adjust one string, then another, until the sound harmonizes. Your mind, heart, and body are the strings. Each time you align them, your song becomes clearer. Eventually, the entire instrument vibrates in harmony. That harmony is what the field reflects. When you embody, you collapse the gap between dream and reality. You no longer wait for some distant future. You bring the future into now. You live it before you see it. That is what makes it real. And here is the secret many overlook. Breakthrough is not just about getting the thing you want. It is about becoming the version of you who already has it. Once you become that person, the outcome cannot be denied. Reality has no choice but to match the state. So ask yourself each day, am I embodying my future self now, or am I waiting for proof? Am I carrying the frequency of my desire, or am I broadcasting lack? Am I choosing coherence, or am I scattering my energy? These questions are not for judgment, but for awareness. Awareness gives you choice. Choice gives you power. Power creates change. The truth is simple. You are closer to your breakthrough than you realize. The signals are already appearing. The only question is whether you will embody the new self long enough for the mirror of reality to reflect it back. Hold steady. Breathe into it. Live it now. Your breakthrough is not coming someday. It is here, waiting for you to step fully into it. Resistance. Why it gets strongest before you win. Every great transformation carries with it a paradox. The closer you move toward the life you dream of, the more resistance you often face. This resistance is not punishment, nor is it proof that you are on the wrong path. In many ways, it is confirmation. The turbulence you feel is the echo of your old identity fighting to survive while your new identity emerges. It can be uncomfortable, but it is also sacred because it signals that you are crossing into new territory. Think about an airplane as it lifts from the runway. The engines roar, the air pressure shifts, and the resistance is immense. For a few moments, the body feels heavy and the climb feels unnatural. Yet it is precisely that resistance that allows the plane to lift into the sky. Without resistance, there would be no takeoff. The same is true for your growth. The weight you feel when you are about to rise is the very force that enables you to soar. When you feel resistance in your journey, recognize it as a natural part of the process. Doubts will surface. Old patterns may reappear. People in your life may push against your new choices. These are not signs to turn back, but signals that your energy is shifting. The subconscious mind clings to familiarity, even when that familiarity has held you back. The moment you step outside the comfort zone, the alarm bells ring. The key is not to silence them instantly, but to see them for what they are, an indication that you are in motion. Resistance is also a teacher. It reveals the exact places where your alignment wavers. If you encounter fear, it shows you where trust must grow. If you encounter impatience, it reveals where surrender is needed. If you encounter anger, it uncovers where compassion has not yet taken root. Every form of resistance is feedback. When you view it this way, you stop battling it and start learning from it. Many people misinterpret resistance as failure. They believe if things were meant to flow, they should always feel easy. But imagine a sculptor carving stone. The friction of the chisel against the rock is not a mistake. It is the process. Without friction, the shape would never emerge. In the same way, the friction in your life is sculpting the new version of you. Every challenge is chiseling away what no longer serves so that the form of your future self can appear. There are moments when resistance will feel overwhelming. You may want to retreat back to what is familiar. You may convince yourself that it is safer to quit than to continue forward into uncertainty. But remember this, the discomfort you feel from growth is temporary, while the regret of abandoning your vision is permanent. Choose temporary discomfort over permanent regret. Choose to hold your ground when the storm arrives, because storms do not last forever. The paradox is that the storm is often most intense right before the calm. Just as the darkest hour of night comes before sunrise, the greatest resistance often appears just before breakthrough. This is when many people give up, unaware that they were steps away from victory. If you can endure the storm without losing your center, you will walk into the light that follows. How do you hold coherence in the midst of chaos? The first key is presence. When life feels overwhelming, the mind races ahead into imagined disasters. Presence pulls you back into the moment where clarity exists. Take one conscious breath and remind yourself, I am here. This moment is manageable. This breath is enough. By anchoring in presence, you weaken the grip of fear. The second key is perspective. Resistance is not the enemy. It is part of the unfolding. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" The shift from victimhood to learning transforms the energy immediately. Suddenly, resistance becomes a guide rather than a block. You can meet it with curiosity instead of dread. The third key is practice. Coherence is not built in moments of ease, it is built in moments of challenge. Each time you choose to remain steady when life shakes you, you strengthen your nervous system's ability to hold alignment. Think of a tree in the wind. The more storms it endures, the deeper its roots grow. Over time, it becomes unshakable. Your practice of coherence works the same way. You are not meant to avoid all resistance. You are meant to learn how to move through it with grace. When you stop running from discomfort, it loses its power. When you stop fearing setbacks, they transform into stepping stones. Resistance only controls you when you resist it. When you embrace it, you become free. Your subconscious may try to trick you into thinking that resistance means failure. But imagine a rocket launching into space. The greatest force of resistance occurs in the first few minutes as it breaks free from gravity. Once it crosses into orbit, the resistance lessens and the rocket glides with ease. Your journey mirrors this pattern. The beginning stages of transformation demand the most energy, but once you establish coherence, the flow carries you. Do not mistake temporary resistance for a permanent condition. No storm lasts forever. No night prevents the sun from rising. Your role is to stay present, hold perspective, and practice coherence until the storm passes. When you do, you will see that what felt like opposition was actually preparation. The field responds to your steadiness, not your struggle. It is not impressed by how loudly you demand results, but by how calmly you hold the frequency. Resistance is not proof that the field has turned against you. It is proof that you are reconfiguring it. The turbulence you feel is the old dissolving and the new being born. So when you encounter resistance, remind yourself, this is the sign that I am on the right path. This is the evidence that change is happening. This is the wait before the lift, the darkness before the dawn, the friction before the sculpture emerges. Do not run, do not quit. Hold your ground with calm certainty. The breakthrough is closer than you think. Serenity versus force. The secret accelerator. There is a secret that many seekers overlook. They believe that if they just push harder, focus more intensely, and demand more loudly, they will manifest faster. Yet in truth, the energy of forcing is the very thing that delays their desire. The quantum field does not respond to desperation or to struggle. It responds to coherence, calmness, and the deep serenity of knowing. When you embody serenity, you become magnetic. Think of a still lake on a calm morning. The surface reflects the world around it with perfect clarity. Now imagine that same lake in the middle of a storm, waves crashing, the surface broken into chaos. Nothing is reflected clearly. Your energy works the same way. When you are calm and surrendered, your field reflects your intentions with clarity. When you are frantic or anxious, the signal is distorted. Serenity is the mirror that allows your reality to appear clearly. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means letting go of the illusion that you must control every detail. It means trusting that the field knows how to arrange circumstances better than your limited mind can imagine. When you surrender, you stop interfering with the process. You allow the intelligence of the universe to flow through you instead of constantly blocking it with resistance. Most people confuse surrender with passivity. They think surrender is sitting back and doing nothing. But real surrender is active. It is aligning your energy, embodying your future self, and then trusting that the how will take care of itself. You still take action, but it is inspired action, not desperate action. The difference is subtle but profound. Inspired action feels light, exciting, and natural. Desperate action feels heavy, pressured, and filled with fear. One flows, the other fights. There are moments when surrender is the most courageous thing you can do. To stop fighting, to stop demanding, to stop grasping, and instead rest in the knowing that what you desire is already written in potential. That is the essence of faith. It is easy to believe when you can see evidence. It is powerful to believe when you cannot. Serenity is the proof that your belief has matured. Serenity is not indifference. It is presence. It is the ability to sit in the middle of uncertainty and remain steady. When you cultivate serenity, you begin to notice opportunities others miss because they are blinded by panic. You begin to hear the whisper of intuition that panic drowns out. You begin to act with precision instead of scattering your energy in 100 directions. Serenity sharpens you. Force is noisy. Serenity is magnetic. Imagine a crowded room where everyone is shouting. The one who speaks calmly is the one people lean in to hear. In the same way, the field leans toward the calm signal because it is coherent. Your serenity carries further than your struggle. It is not the volume of your desire that matters, it is the clarity. So how do you cultivate serenity in the middle of chaos? The answer is practice. Each time you notice yourself gripping too tightly, pause and breathe. Each time your mind races into fear, bring it back to the present. Ask yourself, is this moment enough? Almost always the answer is yes. In this moment you have air, you have awareness, you have the ability to choose your state. That is enough. The mind may scream about the future, but serenity lives in the now. Consider the rhythm of the ocean. Waves rise and fall, tides come and go, but the deep ocean remains still. Serenity is the deep ocean within you. The surface of your life may rise and fall, but when you learn to rest in the deeper stillness, you are unshaken. This stillness is not emptiness, it is power. From stillness, creation emerges. When you surrender into serenity, you also become more receptive. Opportunities that you once overlooked suddenly stand out. Connections that seemed random reveal their meaning. Your intuition speaks more clearly. Inspiration flows with less effort. You realize that the universe was always trying to help you, but your noise drowned it out. Serenity is the silence that allows guidance to be heard. The paradox is that the more you chase, the further your desire seems to move away, but when you let go, it comes closer. Not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped resisting. Imagine trying to hold water in a clenched fist. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. But if you open your palm, the water rests gently. This is how manifestation works. Grasping drives it away. Openness allows it to stay. Surrender is also the antidote to impatience. Impatience is rooted in fear that your desire will not arrive, but surrender trusts the timing. It knows that life unfolds with precision even when you cannot see the whole map. The delay is not denial. It is preparation. The field arranges countless variables that your mind cannot calculate. Trusting that arrangement is surrender. There is great strength in a surrendered heart. It does not break under pressure because it is not rigid. It bends, flows, and adapts. Rigidity snaps in the storm. Flexibility weathers it. Serenity gives you that flexibility. It allows you to adjust without losing your center. You can bend without breaking, flow without drowning, yield without giving up. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history happened when people surrendered. Scientists describe moments of discovery arriving not in the middle of grinding effort, but during relaxation, sleep, or quiet walks. Artists find inspiration not when they force ideas, but when they release control and let creativity flow. Spiritual masters teach that enlightenment dawns not through struggle, but through surrender. The same principle applies to your life. When you release the grip of control and rest in serenity, You create the conditions for inspiration, guidance, and alignment to enter. You stop blocking the flow with your noise. You become a clear vessel for creation. This is why serenity accelerates manifestation faster than force. Force is born of fear, and fear scatters your energy. Serenity is born of trust, and trust aligns your energy. The more aligned your energy, the faster the field mirrors it. You cannot bully the universe into giving you what you want. You can only align with it until it has no choice but to reflect you. Serenity does not mean you will never feel doubt or fear again. It means you will notice them without becoming them. They may appear like passing clouds, but your awareness remains the sky. The sky does not fight the clouds, it allows them to drift by. In the same way, serenity allows doubt to arise without losing coherence. You see it, breathe, and let it go. When you live in serenity, people notice. They may not understand why, but they feel drawn to your energy. You become the calm center in a world of noise. You become the one who radiates presence even when circumstances are chaotic. That presence is irresistible. It is the sign of someone who has mastered surrender. And when you surrender, you win. Not because you forced the outcome, but because you aligned so deeply that the outcome aligned with you. Serenity is not weakness. It is power disguised as stillness. It is the strength to trust the unseen, the courage to let go of control, and the wisdom to allow life to unfold in its own perfect rhythm. If you can hold serenity now, even when the evidence seems absent, you are proving that you already are the person who succeeds. That is embodiment at its highest level. You are not waiting for the breakthrough. You are living it, quietly, calmly, steadily, and the field will reflect it. Rewiring identity and breaking old patterns. Every lasting breakthrough comes down to identity. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. The version of you who has been living in limitation cannot hold the reality of expansion. The identity must evolve before the manifestation can stabilize. This is why so many people manifest fleeting results that vanish quickly. They momentarily touch a new vibration, but their identity pulls them back to the old. To create lasting change, you must rewire your sense of self. Identity is not fixed. It is a pattern of thoughts, feelings, and actions that repeat until they feel normal. From the moment you were born, your nervous system has been programmed by repetition. The words spoken to you, the emotions you felt most often, and the beliefs you adopted became the architecture of your identity. These patterns run in the subconscious, shaping how you see yourself and how you interact with the world. If you want to live at a new level, you cannot simply force your way into it with willpower. You must shift the patterns that run automatically. This is what neural rewiring is all about. Each time you think a thought, a pathway in the brain is strengthened. Each time you act in alignment with a belief, the pathway is reinforced. Over time, those pathways become highways. The good news is that you can build new ones. Your brain is plastic. It changes in response to repetition. To transform identity, begin by noticing the old patterns. Pay attention to the words you use with yourself. Listen to the stories that repeat in your mind. Do they sound like the voice of someone limited or someone free? Awareness alone does not erase them, but it shines a light on the script you have been running unconsciously. Once you see the script, you can choose to rewrite it. Rewiring begins with new language, new images, and new feelings practiced consistently. Imagine yourself as the person you want to become. Hear how that version of you speaks. See how they move through the world. Feel what it is like to be them. At first, your brain may reject it. The old identity will say this feels fake, but repetition is stronger than doubt. Every time you practice, the new pathway strengthens. Action anchors the change. If you think like your future self but continue acting like your old self, the nervous system does not shift. You must align thought with action. For example, if your future self is confident, practice walking into rooms with your shoulders back and your breath steady. If your future self is abundant, practice making choices from trust rather than fear. These small actions signal to the brain and body that the old identity is no longer in control. Your body carries memory too. Emotions are not just mental, they are chemical. When you feel unworthy or afraid, your body becomes addicted to those states. It craves them because they are familiar. To break free, you must give your body new experiences. Each time you hold serenity in moments where you once panicked, you are teaching your body a new normal. Each time you choose gratitude instead of complaint, you are dosing your nervous system with new chemistry. Over time, the addiction to the old fades and the new becomes natural. This is not an overnight process. Just as muscles take time to grow, neural pathways take time to rewire. But the more consistent you are, the faster it happens. Science shows that repeated thought and behavior can restructure the brain within weeks. The longer you sustain the new identity, the deeper the wiring becomes until it feels automatic. Transformation also requires you to release attachment to the old story. Many people cling to their old identity even when it causes suffering because it feels safe. They define themselves by their struggles, their traumas, or their limitations. To step into your future self, you must be willing to let go of the comfort of the familiar. This is why change feels like death at times. You are grieving the old self. But remember, you are not losing who you are releasing who you are not. Identity transformation is both letting go and stepping in. You let go of the outdated story while stepping into the upgraded one. You are not erasing your past, you are integrating it into a new whole. Every challenge you endured has prepared you for this moment. You are not discarding your history, you are reinterpreting it through the lens of empowerment. The subconscious accepts new programming through repetition, emotion, and imagery. This is why rituals are powerful. Daily practices of meditation, affirmation, or visualization impress the subconscious more deeply than occasional bursts of effort. When you combine these practices with real-world embodiment, the rewiring accelerates. You are teaching your system who you are now, not just who you wish to be. Over time, the shift becomes undeniable. Situations that once triggered you no longer have the same power. Opportunities that felt intimidating now feel natural. You begin to notice that people treat you differently, not because they have changed, but because your energy has. Reality reflects your new identity. It is important to recognize that this is not about pretending to be someone else. It is about remembering who you truly are beneath the layers of conditioning. The future self you imagine is not a fantasy. It is your truest essence calling you forward. Neural rewiring is not artificial. It is restoration. It is clearing away what was imposed so that your authentic power can shine. Sometimes the old self will attempt to return. Doubt will whisper, fear will rise, and familiar habits will tempt you. Do not see this as failure. See it as a test of stability. Each time you choose the new identity in the face of the old, you prove your coherence. Eventually, the whispers fade, the fears quiet, and the habits dissolve. The old cannot survive in the presence of consistent embodiment. The moment will come when you realize you no longer need to try to be your future self. You simply are. The thoughts flow naturally, the emotions arise authentically, and the actions follow with ease. That is the mark of true transformation. At that point, manifestation is not an effort but a byproduct. Reality has no choice but to match who you have become. Your breakthrough is not just about receiving something external. It is about becoming someone internal. When you rewire your identity, you align with the version of you that has already won. That version does not live in the future. It lives now, waiting for you to claim it. The quantum field reflects the self you are being in this moment. When that self is aligned with your vision, the mirror shows you victory. So do not underestimate the power of repetition, emotion, and embodiment. These are the tools of neural rewiring. They are the keys that unlock the new self. And once unlocked, the door to your breakthrough stands wide open. Step through not as who you were, but as who you have become. Synchronicities and the Quantum Signal 777. When you begin to stabilize in your new identity, something extraordinary happens. The world around you starts to reflect your inner state in ways that feel impossible to dismiss as coincidence. You notice repeating numbers on clocks, receipts, or license plates. A thought you have is echoed back to you in a conversation minutes later. A song lyric answers the exact question you were pondering. These are synchronicities, and they are the language of the field speaking directly to you. Synchronicities are not random. They are signs that your energy has reached coherence. The field is an infinite sea of possibility, and when your vibration is scattered, you cannot perceive the order beneath the surface. But when you align, patterns become visible. What once felt like chaos begins to show symmetry. The synchronicities are not the goal, but they are confirmation. They tell you that your signal has been heard. Many people encounter synchronicities yet dismiss them as chance. They fail to see that chance itself is an illusion. Nothing is random in a universe woven by vibration. Every signal has meaning, though not always literal meaning. Numbers like 111, 222, or 777 are not magic in themselves, but symbols that you are attuned. The repetition is the message, a reminder that the inner and outer are now in dialogue. Consider 777, often described as a number of divine alignment. When you repeatedly see 777, it is not that the number has power over you, but that your consciousness has reached a point of resonance where you are attuned to the pattern. It is like a wink from the universe, a signal that the threshold is near, and that you are broadcasting a frequency strong enough to ripple through reality. These repeating signals are evidence that you are no longer chasing outcomes but embodying them. The mind loves to overanalyze synchronicities, searching for precise predictions or hidden codes. But their true value lies in the feeling they evoke. When you notice a synchronicity, pause and breathe. Feel the surge of recognition, the sense that you are being seen by the universe. That feeling is the alignment. That awareness is the signal amplified. The more you honor the feeling, the more the synchronicities multiply because you are reinforcing the dialogue. Synchronicities also act as anchors during times of doubt. There will be moments when your mind tries to convince you that nothing is happening, that your efforts are in vain. Then suddenly, you glance at a clock and see 11:11, or you hear someone repeat the very affirmation you spoke that morning. These moments arrive as reminders. They whisper, "Stay the course. The field is listening." They are breadcrumbs guiding you through the forest of uncertainty. It is important not to become obsessed with signs, however. The signs are not the destination. They are markers along the path. If you fixate on the markers, you may miss the journey. Remember, the real evidence of transformation is not the numbers on a screen, but the state of your being. Synchronicities confirm alignment, but embodiment sustains it. Still, these signals are precious because they train your awareness to see beyond the ordinary. The more you notice them, the more you realize that life is alive, interactive, and responsive. You are not moving through a dead universe of chance. You are dancing with a living field of intelligence. Synchronicities are the rhythm of that dance. When your identity has shifted and your neural pathways are rewired, the frequency you broadcast is steady. That steadiness is what allows synchronicities to appear with greater regularity. It is not that the universe suddenly decided to speak to you. It is that you finally tuned your antenna to hear. The signals were always present, but your coherence makes them clear. This is why spiritual traditions across cultures emphasize signs and omens. From the flight of birds to the alignment of stars, humanity has always sensed that the universe speaks in patterns. Modern science describes it differently, but the essence is the same. Reality is not random, and your consciousness is not isolated. Synchronicities are the overlap where the subjective and objective meet. In practical terms, you can use synchronicities as cues for deepening your embodiment. When you notice repeating numbers or unusual alignments, pause and ask yourself, what am I broadcasting right now? Am I embodying the frequency of my desire? Am I aligned in thought, feeling, and action? The sign is not only confirmation, it is also a mirror. It invites you to check your state. There will also be synchronicities that feel almost like a direct conversation. You think about someone, and they call. You dream of an opportunity, and it appears the next day. You feel an urge to walk a certain path, and you encounter exactly what you needed. These moments are too precise to ignore. They remind you that your inner world and the outer world are not separate. They are two faces of the same field. One of the most profound realizations that arises when synchronicities multiply is that you are not alone. You are being guided. Whether you describe that guidance as the universe, higher self, spirit, or quantum intelligence does not matter. What matters is the sense of partnership. You realize you are not pushing through life on your own strength. You are co-creating with a greater order. That realization lifts an immense weight from your shoulders. The more you trust that guidance, the more fluid your journey becomes. You stop forcing paths that resist and start flowing with paths that open. You stop doubting every delay and start recognizing that timing is part of the plan. You stop feeling abandoned and start realizing you are constantly in dialogue with something greater. This shift from isolation to partnership is one of the greatest gifts of alignment. Imagine walking through a forest at night with only a small lantern. You cannot see the entire path, but every few steps, the lantern illuminates enough for you to continue. Synchronicities are like that lantern. They do not show you the whole journey, but they give you just enough light to move forward. If you keep walking, more light appears. If you trust the lantern, the forest reveals itself one step at a time. When you are on the brink of breakthrough, synchronicities tend to cluster. They appear more frequently, almost insistently. This is because your vibration is accelerating and the field is echoing your signal with greater speed. Pay attention when the signs seem to flood your awareness. It means the threshold is near, the arrow is about to release, the dawn is about to break. Yet even in the flood of synchronicities, serenity remains the key. Do not cling to the signs with desperation. Receive them with gratitude. Smile at them, honor them, but do not obsess. They are guides, not masters. The master is within you, in the steady embodiment of your future self. By the time synchronicities are flowing steadily, you can be sure that the breakthrough is inevitable. You have tuned your frequency so clearly that the field cannot resist responding. You have become the living proof of alignment, and reality must mirror it. The signs are the applause of the universe, encouraging you to keep going. So notice them, cherish them, but remember the deeper truth. The ultimate synchronicity is not outside of you. It is the alignment between your inner state and your outer reality. When the two merge seamlessly, life itself becomes one continuous synchronicity. At that point, there is no longer any doubt that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Living as the breakthrough and never looking back. There comes a moment in every journey when the preparation ends and the crossing begins. You have felt the resistance. You have practiced embodiment. You have learned to surrender. And you have seen the synchronicities that confirm alignment. All of it has been preparing you for this point. The question now is whether you will step fully into the breakthrough or hesitate at the doorway. This moment is not just about what you receive, but about who you become in receiving it. The threshold of breakthrough is not always dramatic. It may not come with flashing lights or trumpets sounding. More often it arrives quietly, disguised as a decision, a choice, or an action that feels ordinary but carries extraordinary consequences. The universe rarely forces you across the threshold. It invites you. You must choose to step. That step is an act of trust. It is trusting that the new identity you have embodied is real, even if the old world still lingers around you. It is trusting that the field will mirror your coherence, even if you cannot yet see the reflection. It is trusting that the discomfort of letting go will be replaced by the peace of expansion. Trust is the key that turns the lock, and courage is the hand that holds the key. Stepping fully into breakthrough requires releasing the need to constantly check for proof. Imagine planting a seed and digging it up every day to see if it is growing. The constant checking prevents the roots from taking hold. In the same way, when you obsess over whether your manifestation is working, you disturb the process. The most powerful choice you can make is to embody the knowing and allow the roots to grow in silence. This is why serenity is so powerful. Serenity keeps you steady in the waiting. It keeps you calm when doubt whispers and patient when timing feels delayed. Serenity allows you to live as though the result is already yours. And when you live that way, the breakthrough is no longer a future event. It becomes a present reality, and reality has no choice but to follow. Synchronicities will continue to appear as reminders, but you no longer need them in the same way. At the beginning, they were encouragement. At this stage, they are celebration. They are not telling you to keep going because you are already there. They are echoes of alignment, proof that the inner and outer have merged. You are no longer chasing signs. You are living in the state that produces them naturally. Identity transformation is the foundation that ensures the breakthrough lasts. Without a shift in identity, you may experience temporary results, but they will slip away as the old self pulls you back. But when your neural pathways have been rewired and your nervous system has accepted the new normal, the breakthrough becomes stable. You do not need to fight to hold it because it is simply who you are. The victory is not in what you receive, but in who you remain after receiving it. There will still be moments of challenge even after the breakthrough. Life is not about avoiding difficulty, but about meeting it with new awareness. The difference now is that you no longer collapse into the old identity when challenges arise. You respond from the coherence of the new self. This is why true transformation is permanent. Once you know the frequency of your power, you cannot unknow it. Breakthrough is not the end of your journey, but the beginning of a new chapter. Each level of expansion brings new horizons, new opportunities, and new responsibilities. But you will never face them as the person you once were. You will face them as the expanded self, the aligned self, the version of you who has proven capable of holding more. The journey does not end. It evolves. If you look back, you will see how every moment of resistance was shaping you, how every doubt was an invitation to embody deeper, how every delay was preparing the foundation. What once felt like obstacles were actually the path itself. This is the paradox of growth. The struggle was never separate from the victory. It was the training ground that made the victory possible. Now the invitation is simple. Step fully in. Do not hesitate at the doorway. Do not wait for someone to push you. Choose to embody the frequency so completely that the mirror of reality has no choice but to reflect it. This is your life, your creation, your moment. The universe has been arranging the pieces, waiting for your alignment. Now that you have become aligned, it is only a matter of choosing to live it. Remember, you are not creating something from nothing. You are aligning with what already exists in potential. The field is infinite, and your desire is already woven into its fabric. Breakthrough is not about forcing the field to give you what you want. It is about becoming the version of you who already matches it. When you are the match, reality delivers without resistance. The signs have been clear. The synchronicities have multiplied. The inner shifts have stabilized. The new identity has taken root. The only step left is the choice to live as though it is already done. That choice is the true crossing. Once you cross, there is no going back, because the old self can no longer contain you. This is the beauty of transformation. You do not just receive a reward. You become the person who no longer doubts they deserve it. You become the person who carries serenity even in storms, who trusts even in silence, who acts even in uncertainty. You become the embodiment of breakthrough itself. That is the real victory. So breathe deeply and recognize where you stand. You are on the edge of the life you have been dreaming of. You are not waiting anymore. You are stepping. You are embodying. You are surrendering. You are aligning. The universe is not holding back. It is responding to your state. And your state has become the signal of victory. The final truth is simple. You are already winning. The breakthrough is not ahead of you. It is within you, waiting for expression. When you live from that truth, life cannot help but mirror it. You are the cause. Reality is the effect. The moment you claim that truth fully, the breakthrough becomes inevitable. So step forward now, not as the person who hopes, but as the person who knows. Not as the seeker, but as the embodiment. Not as the one waiting, but as the one already living it. This is your moment. This is your breakthrough. Claim it, and let the field reflect the fullness of who you have become.